most people work harder and they think that is the way to get better results. More hours, more effort, more grind, right? But the people who produce the biggest outcomes in the world aren't just working harder, they're using something called leverage. And today, I've understood it in a way that I never have before because of the previous insights I have come upon, that have come upon me. Pause. All right. Once you understand what leverage actually means, it completely changes how you think about work, money, building systems, everything like that. Okay. Now, the easiest way to understand leverage is through inputs and outputs. Stay with me here because I'm like, what the fuck? But if you can get this the way I get it, it's just like, whoa, like the Matrix. Okay. An input is the effort you put into something, an output is the result you get from that effort. Most jobs operate on a very simple model. You put in an input, your time, and that output is that you get paid. But the moment you stop putting in that input, the output stops. So no work means no income, right? We all understand this. This is what a system without leverage looks like. Leverage changes the relationship between inputs and outputs. Instead of one input producing one output, leverage allows one input to produce many outputs, or it allows an input to keep producing outputs long after the input has stopped. For example, if you teach someone a skill and they start doing that work for the company, you created leverage through people. You did the input once, teaching the skill, but now the output continues even when you're not doing the work yourself. That is leverage through human capital, right? So there's leverage through different vehicles, okay? Human capital is fascinating when you really understand it through this lens. Now, money can also act as a lever, okay? If you're in sales and you close deals, your income depends directly on your activity. No deals closed means no money earned. But if you take that money and invest it into something like real estate or businesses, something, you know, obvious happens. You make the investment once, but the output, the return, can happen repeatedly over time. The same input continues producing results. That's leverage through capital. Everyone's very, very familiar with that. I was not made, aware of human capital growing up. I was very much made through regular capital, right? So like real estate and stocks, right? Because I got into real estate at a young age and started drinking that Kool-Aid and realized that this Kool-Aid is not the best flavor, right? Human capital is a much better flavor of leverage than, just regular capital, just like investing your capital. It's so stupid. I think the wealthy play the game correctly. I think the people who want to become wealthy never do play the game incorrectly, right? They think that the wealthy got there through capital, and it's another video. But anyways, one of the most powerful forms of leverage is building systems. To me, this is way more fucking profitable than investing in a piece of real estate because in a piece of real estate, you always get a fraction of your money. So if you put in $100,000 of your money, now this is for traditional investing. I'm not talking, there is, which I plan on doing. I would love to get into commercial real estate. I was in residential real estate. So I would, do house hacks. I would help people, I would do flips. I would help people do burrs and stuff like that. Okay. But, and flips as well. And buy and holds. But I don't think real estate is the best if you could pick one. Now, I can make another video, but I think people are doing it way incorrectly, which is one, why I stopped investing in real estate, sold my real estate, and then got out of real estate, okay, and actually got into business, right? But one of the most powerful forms of leverage is building systems, okay? For example, imagine onboarding someone inside of a company. You spend time teaching them the skills they need to produce a certain outcome. That's why you hire people. At first, you're doing the work yourself, right? But once the system is built and the person understands the process, they start producing that outcome without your direct involvement. You transferred the skill set, and now this system keeps generating results. That's leverage through systems. I think this is a way better way to learn. If I could go back and redo my late teens and 20s, I would not do real estate whatsoever. I would never get my license. I would never buy real estate. I would never sell real estate. I would never flip real estate. None of that. Because it's at such a low level, it just doesn't make sense. Like residential real estate, like I mean, I plan, once I am making a lot of money, I'll definitely get into like commercial real estate, you know, and force appreciation that way, right? On like a big apartment building, buy that for millions of dollars, put millions of dollars into it, force appreciation, and then sell that. But I probably won't be doing residential real estate at all. So, anyways, once you start thinking in terms of leverage, your main question changes. Like instead of asking, how can I work harder to get better results? You start asking, how can I create inputs that produce outputs multiple times? How can one action create 10 results? How can one system produce outcomes for years? How can one investment continue generating returns? That's the mindset shift that leverage creates. So, the people who create the biggest outcomes in the world usually aren't the ones putting in the most hours. They're the ones who design systems where a single input produces results again and again. And once you start thinking this way, you stop asking how to work more. You start asking something much more powerful, which is how can one action create many results over time?